So we're going to create a new application, and we're going to choose Mobile ADF application. Give it a name. And click Finish. You'll get the ADFM feature page as the first component that you edit. And over here you can basically define which features you're going to have in your application. So let's define two of them. Okay, the first one, we'll call it the info page. And the important thing is the content here. Over here you can specify that the info page is of type remote URL. And then you can just specify the URL that you want to include here. Okay, so this is our first feature, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another feature over here. This one will be the depth search feature. Okay. Now you can specify that this one is actually either one page, or in our case we're actually going to do more than one page over here. We're going to do a complete task flow. So let's call it the depth search flow. Now you've been taken into the page flow diagram. This should be quite familiar for you if you did any ADF development in the past, and it basically is exactly the same. What we're going to do here is we're going to define page flows between two pages. Okay, you can name the pages. And that's our page flow. Next thing is actually to design the pages. To do that, you double click the page. Here you can actually define how your page is going to look like. What actions and what areas do you want to have. Okay. So we're going to have the first page just have a header like that. You're being taken into the code editor, but it's important to remember that you also have a preview editor. So one thing that can be helpful is to actually split the view and use the preview over here. Okay. Again, with a bigger resolution of your screen, it might be even more helpful. So the other thing that you have here is you have the structure pane, just like in normal ADF application, and you can access objects from here and then change the property. So for example, define the title to be search. Alright, now let's actually connect it to the ADF Business Components web service that we created. In the View Controller project for your mobile application, click New, choose Data Control, and use the Web Service Data Control. Give it a name. That's the name for the data control, and for the URL, paste the address of your WSDL file. Click Next to find out which method you have access to. You can shuttle them to the right. Click Next a few more times and finish. This creates a data control that you can see here that gives you access to your view object. Alright, so now we can actually start to use operations from this data control. And the first one might be the find department by location. Okay, we have parameters here, and we have a return value. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag this over to our page to create a parameter form. I'm actually just interested in the location parameter here, so I can remove the two other and click OK. Right. You got a button, and you can actually change it. Change the text, for example, to say search. Alright. The next step is to actually show the results. So take the results, drag and drop it into your page. you can decide how to show it. We're going to use the list view. Okay. List view gives you all sorts of layouts that you can use. We're going to use a break by location, okay, like that. So you're going to decide what to show. So I want to show the department name, okay, and I want to have dividers organized by the location ID. And here's my page. Next thing you want to do is specify to the list item over here what's the action that it's going to do once you select something in the list. So this is the property down here. There's a drop-down list and you can choose your navigation rule. So we're going to do the go navigation. Just to remind you, the go navigation is basically going from here to here. One thing about the navigation themselves, you can actually specify a visual effect or a transition between the pages. For example, you can do a flip left here and do a flip right on the way back, like that. One more thing that we need to do on our search page is once we actually click a department, we want to pass a parameter over to the next page. Alright, so to do that, just like you did in ADF Faces, you can use a set property listener, okay, drag and drop it onto your list item, okay, and then you can specify what parameter to pass. So we're actually going to take not the department name, but rather copy this one, and in the set property listener we're going to copy the department ID, okay, and we're going to place it in a page flow variable. Okay, we'll call this page flow variable ID. We're going to do it on an action. So again, this is the normal way that you pass parameters between pages in a task flow, right? So now we can actually go and design our second page. Okay, on this page we actually want to have a button. Actually, let's use this button. Click OK. Right. For the header of our page, we can specify an expression language. So we'll call it details for, and then use the page flow scope variable that we passed over, which is called ID. Okay. For the button, we're going to have it say in the text back, okay, and in the action over here we're also going to do the back navigation. And now we actually need to show something on this page. So to do that, we're going to use another operation that we exposed on the departments, and that one is the get department view. Okay, this one has a parameter which is the department ID. Okay, so if we drag and drop the result of this method, and drag and drop the result of this method to our page, and we're going to show it as a read-only form. We need to pass a parameter, so the parameter is basically what we pass in the page flow scope. And we get our page that would look like this. So that's the basics of the application. You can do some tuning about how the application is actually going to behave. There's a bunch of descriptors here. The ADF MF application is probably the most important one. And one thing you might want to do here is give a name to your application. Like that. You can give a description, version, vendor, and other information over here. Now that you're done, you can simply deploy the application. So to do that, you're going to choose deploy, create a new deployment profile. I'm working on Windows, so I can only deploy to an Android device, so we'll choose an ADF Mobile for Android. And then you can actually deploy this either to an emulator or just create a package, or if you have a device, just connect the device, enable debug on it, and deploy to the device directly. Deployment window would show us our activities. So here's our application deployed on an Android device. We have the icon here, we can click it and start our application. Get a flash screen, and then the first page in our application is the info page, right? And this is just a remote URL that we are showing as part of our application. On the bottom we have the navigation buttons, so we can switch over to the depth search part of the application. And here we get the initial query showing up. You can click the search field over here and put in a location, so switch over to the numbers and put in the code for a location, and click our search button. This goes over, execute the business components, and return the set of departments that are in this location. You can choose one of those, and this will do the animation transfer. Right, and on the second page we get information for department 40, and we can click the back button. Here we can again do another search and simply invoke the same method again, passing a different parameter, and get a new set of results. There you go, your first ADF mobile application with ADF BC Backend.